Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so glad I'm here today. Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I am the founder of J Stauffer Consulting, and today this live is for what does a career pivot specialist do? So, to start off today, I wanted to answer that question, and then I have gotten 10 questions that kind of more frequently asked questions about what a career pivot specialist does, and it's all related. I figure we'll answer those questions, and if anybody has any questions in between or it prompts someone to ask something additional, we'll cover that during this time. That is the agenda for today. So, what does a career pivot specialist do? So, a career pivot specialist is for those who are trying to enter into another career, who want a change, but know that you can't just leap from one job to another or from one career to another. You need a series of pivots, like in basketball, a move that keeps one foot firmly planted while the other one is swinging forward. Career pivots help you move towards your new career in small, practical steps that lead you to where you want to be. What I do is I work with you to design a strategy of manageable pivots towards your career where you can grow with and one that's going to fulfill you for decades. And with a career pivot, you won't just jump from the frying pan into the fire, so to speak. You'll make positive changes for your whole career, not just from this one specific moment in which you'll need me. You get to take control of where your future is headed. So that was question number one. Again, I wanted to give another little snippet about me. I'm Jacqueline, the founder of J Software Consulting, the teacher's career pivot specialist. I was a second year teacher who transitioned out of the school system during the height of the COVID pandemic. I've interviewed with CEOs, vice presidents of ed tech companies. I landed my dream job and I was promoted within 5 months of starting this job. So I'm going to see if there's any questions in the chat. And because there's no other questions in the chat, I will start with question number one. Question number two, because we just answered question number one in a sense. So the second question is, what has been my career path? And I'll put that in the chat too. And kind of what started me into education in the first place. Okay, so this has been my career path. I always wanted to be an advocate for those who couldn't speak for themselves. And for me, I thought that teaching was the ultimate thing, because what you do is you get to teach people how to be successful citizens and how to learn life skills. And that's why I went into the special ed and I did elementary ed. Well, fast forward, I will go through student teaching. I do my first year of teaching and, in one school district. That was great. That was wonderful. The second year, that's when COVID hit, was in that second year. And, I loved teaching. I loved the kids. Had a 98% satisfaction rate on the stakeholder survey that my state did for all the educators in Utah. So I was a 98. So I was a very good educator. I loved what I did, but I wanted to impact people on a greater level and on more of a micro, not micro, just the 20 pairs of eyes that were in my room at any given point. Because I had cute little second graders, I had cute little first graders, what have you, which was great. Okay. And then I went and became an interventionist outside of the school system, and I loved doing that. That was my dream job. I've also done some education consulting in a sense where I help the state that I live in with validating third to fifth grade math items. And that was fabulous. I loved every second of that one. I think that has covered that aspect because, yeah, I mentioned I worked as an independent contractor and I provided that assessment feedback for state testing for third, fifth grade math in my state. Yeah. And I also started this, which is J Software Consulting. I help teachers pivot, transition out of the school system. Okay, I'm putting in the third question for today, unless anybody has anything else they want to hear more about. So, my third question, I'll put it in the chat too. As a career pivot specialist, do I help with copyright items for freelance work, say that you were doing within the field of education? The short answer is no, I do not. But in addition, this question was asking, do you have any advice? I would make sure to put the copyright symbol on whatever I turned in, like if you're in the interview process and they're asking you to provide a work sample, make sure to have copyrights on your slide, put in the bottom left-hand corner, what have you, and then your name. So that way they can't take that intellectual property and provide it within their company, if that makes sense. That's as deep as I want to go into that question as of right now. But with coaching, if you wanted to sign up for coaching with me, then I'm sure we could go more in depth. My fifth question of the day is, do you take international clients? Which is an interesting question. I have been on discovery calls with individuals. So I've had a discovery call with a lady in Ukraine because with all the turmoil that's going on there, for her, this pivot isn't imperative. She doesn't want to be teaching in the midst of a war and amongst the kids, and she's trying to transition from being a teacher to another career that's still in the field of education, which I specialize in. So, yes, I am totally willing to take international clients. As of right now, I'm doing research on like the Ukraine economy and what is available for her specifically. So, that was a really good question. And this kind of led into another thing someone else might be wanting to ask is, well, what's the process of a career pivot specialist? I feel like that's an excellent question too. So for me, with my clients, first I start off with a discovery call. And on this call, we discuss your unique situation, any concerns you may have. You get to know me a little bit, and I get to know you. And of course, we answer any questions you have about us. And if you feel comfortable moving ahead, we schedule a convenient time to conduct a 10-minute onboarding call for coaching. And what we have available right now is we have it for 2 topics, like effective job search strategies and for targeting your teacher skills to discover your career options outside of the school system. And we discuss pricing based on what support you need. I do a hybrid model where you will come in for a coaching session with me, which is about 2 hours long. And then what I do is I send you with an assignment, in a sense, some things I want you to work on before you schedule another session with me. So that is the process in a nutshell. I hope that answered that question for someone who sent it in. And again, if you want to email additional questions, because I get that it's a little intimidating to be typing into like a YouTube chat. So I'm going to put my email if you want to email any questions that you may have that you want me to answer. Again, it's going to be jstofferconsulting at career coach, sorry, that's my email, at jstofferconsulting.com. And we will go from there. Okay. Yep, I'm just reviewing my email. If I see any new emails come in, I'll let you know, and we can answer that question super quick, or we can keep going with my initial 10 things I would want to know more about a career pivot specialist, specifically for teachers, which is who I help. All right, so I have question number 7, and it's going into the chat right now, which is, so you'll place me in a job outside of teaching quickly? Well, I wanted to give this disclaimer because there's a lot I can do, but I want you to know that JStoffer Consulting LLC, it's not like we are a job placement service, and it's not like we can guarantee employment because there's a lot of factors that are beyond our control. And whatever content, whatever information I give herein is for informational purposes only. However, within the field of education, I'm sorry, there was a little bit of an echo. We're going to try that again. So within the field of education, there has been reported successes of people landing their dream job with coaching within like a week. For me, it did take me 4 or 5 months after I left the school system. So if we went, I'm just doing the calculations. Yeah, it was a 5-month period. And then once I landed in my job, and this was in the midst of the COVID pandemic, is when I transitioned just as a second year teacher. It's not like, I had years and years and years of experience behind me when I did so. And then once I started this job, I was promoted within 3 months. And then I was employee of the month, my 4th month of working at this company. And at the year mark, when they had employee of the year, I was one of the top 3 contenders. So again, it depends with this question of how quickly can you land a job outside of teaching, but it's within the field of education. Well, it depends on your timeline, because if you're not ready to leave right now, we handle that differently versus, okay, I want to leave at the end of the school system. I want a job so that way I can transition, I can finish out the school year, and then I can start my new career. And again, it depends on your exact circumstances, because what I may tell you may be different from what I tell Bobby or Joe or Jill or whomever. I think I answered that question adequately. The other question that I think this is question number 8. I'm losing track of my numbers. I apologize, but I'll put that into the chat. That way you can follow, and hopefully YouTube will tag it. That way, if you just wanted to watch like one question being answered, you can pick at that point in time, and you should be able to just listen to the answer to that question. So, what topics do I cover in coaching? Okay, so right now I have an effective job search strategies for teachers where I talk about the who to contact, the how to apply, when to apply, where to apply, because there are some months of the year that are the worst months of the year, and times of day and days of the week, which I'll talk about in a later Q&A. That might be the topic of the next one. Same um, with targeting your teacher skills to discover your new career options. Maybe the next live stream will be like the top 3 careers that I recommend teachers transition into after, once they have decided that we wanted to move on a more global level than just our 25 pairs of eyes that are in our rooms. Because let me tell you, it's not being an education consultant right off the bat. And it's not, there's a couple of other things, but education consultant right off the bat, or like a sales manager in education. I think those are the 2 that I really emphasize. There's a time and a place. It's just a little bit scary transitioning initially from teacher to an education consultant, especially if you were like me, where you only had 2-3 years worth of experience. And with an education consultant, they expect 5 to 10 in private industry. Just something to think about for the next live stream I do. I'm also working on a class for coaching, like a webinar on how to interview as a teacher in order to exit the school system. That will be coming next year. I'm thinking late winter, early spring of 2024. Don't quote me on that, but I do have 2 live classes for webinars. I have an effective job search strategies for teachers. I also have a targeting your teachers to discover your new career options. All right. So another question that I've been asked that has come in through an email is, what sort of free resources are available to me? So I do have a page where I have some blogs, I have some YouTube videos, just like the one I'm recording right now. I also have some awesome digital downloads that you can totally explore at any given point. Again, those discovery calls are free. I recommend scheduling a 15-minute complimentary consultation, especially if you want, and it won't hurt. And it depends on what you're looking for. Because let's take a moment to acknowledge that what we all know is true. It's not like anybody's perfect. And and if you're ready to kind of make that transition, to get off the fence in a sense and invest in you and in your future, then you could schedule a discovery call with me to find out more about the new and the better careers for you to manage, your work-life balance. But again, that discovery call is not for quote unquote the tire kickers. It's not for those who don't want to transition right away, which is totally okay, because guess what? We'll be here when you can. It's not like I'm going anywhere. It's for those who are tired of their current reality of going in and out as a teacher, having those October blues, those Sunday anxiety attacks, and want to not only dream big, but also work and impact students positively on a more global level, or quote unquote doing the big thing. Okay, just something to think about there. That is a free resource for you. And again, you can always email me at careercoach@jstoffer Consulting if you have, any other things you want to discuss. I'm totally okay with doing that as well. Okay. So the last question, I think we'll end on this one for today, and then we will get off this Zoom. Is how often do you do updates as a career pivot specialist? So right now, my schedule has been working rather well to do live streams and classes on like Saturday morning, Saturday nights. I love making these YouTube videos. Okay. That tends to come out once a week. And then usually I have some sort of blog post or some sort of digital download that's available once a week. I'm not going to quote and say that it's on a specific day of the week, but Tuesdays has been consistent for the past little bit. Same with Fridays for uploading YouTube. With that being said, you can totally subscribe. That will help a girl out. Get the word out to other individuals who may want to exit the school system, because again, that's why I'm here in the first place. I made a blog post recently about how May 2020 wasn't all that long ago, and I thought at that time that my teacher skills were not non-transferable across different fields of employment within the education system. Not the education system, I'm sorry, the education field, because I did want to make a greater impact on the youth of America for me. And legit, I thought that I would have to go back to flipping burgers to make a living. And I'm so glad that that wasn't the case for me. So again, I wrote this email July 2020. And, I wanted to emphasize why I can help, because who better to assist a teacher like you in making a transition out of the education system than a teacher who has not only talked the talk, but also has walked the walk. I can assist you in leaving the education system and help you transition into a more rewarding career, or you don't have to worry about the world falling apart every time you go to the bathroom, or having a relaxed lunch versus a rushed lunch so that way you can pick up the kids from the cafeteria. Okay, I can assist, and you can continue to positively impact young lives if that is something that you would like. Plus, make a great living out of it with a better work-life balance, because I have both the knowledge and the practical expertise to get you there. And that's why I'm here again. I want your job search to be successful without costing you an arm and a leg. And when it comes to acquiring excellent job search techniques and locating your career match outside the educational system, I want you to be as successful as I was. Because again, I transitioned within a 5-month period from being a teacher in the school system to a private industry company amidst COVID-19 in those first months when everything was on shutdown and everything was just scarier than scary. And the reason why I was so successful is because I sought out the coaching from the best of the best. I implemented their advice with fidelity, and this guidance led me to grow exponentially within private industry companies that I have worked for since. And I want you to have that same success. With that being said, I think that this is the end of the live stream right here. I'm just not seeing any other questions. Make the most of your Saturday morning. Goodbye.